If I can get everyone's attention, we'd like to call the Planning and Zoning meeting for January 5th to order, if we can do that. And Tammy, you can start with a roll call.
Mr. Kerrigan?
Here.
Mr. Van Arsdale?
Here.
Mr. Adams?
Here.
Mr. Crease?
Here.
Ms. Logan?
Here.
Mr. Welly?
Here. All right, next we have the minutes for the December 1st, 2025 P&Z meeting. And Tammy emailed those out. Has everyone had a chance to look over them? Do you have any additions or any corrections? Tammy, I see one place where it says, I called the meeting to order, but I was absent. So right under one, if you'll just change that to, probably Lee called the meeting to order. And with that change being made, would someone like to make a motion to approve the minutes?
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes.
Second. Does anyone have a second?
I'll second.
So the minutes are approved. Thank you. All right, the next piece of business on the agenda is the swearing in of expiring terms. Is that you, Kim?
Yes. If Mr. Crease and Mr. Adams will stand and just raise your right hand, and if you will just cite the oath of office right in front of you. Okay?
I, Larry Adams, do affirm that I will support and defend the Constitution and government of the United States and the state of Florida, that I will support and defend the ordinances of the city of Mexico Beach, and that I am duly qualified to hold office under the Constitution of the state and charter of the city of Mexico Beach, and I will faithfully perform the duties of the Planning and Zoning Board of the city of Mexico Beach, Florida, on which I am committed, so help me God.
Thank you, guys. All right. Next on the regular agenda, we have item number 2, which is a lot split at 515th Street, and it looks like we're going to get an explanation from Alara first.
Yes, good evening. For the record, Alara Mills-Gutcher, and I am the one who oversaw the preparation of this report. This application is to subdivide approximately 10 acres, I think exactly 10.15 acres, that is located and addressed at 515th Street. The intent is to create a 7-acre and a 3-acre plus or minus sized parcel. So if approved, the result would be 2 parcels, 2 tax ID numbers. These aren't plats, these aren't recorded lots of record in a plat book. But to create 2 where the single-family home, the existing single-family home would stay and remain on the 3-acre parcel, and the remainder is requested to go into a 7 plus or minus acre parcel. Upon review of the request, we all realized that there are no minimum lot size requirements in the comprehensive plan, so that wasn't an issue. And density could be met based on the future land use and zoning designations of residential low density. So the only issue that I could identify that could be problematic, and I did speak to the applicant and let her know, is that number 1, we don't have surveys to know the exact boundaries of what we're deciding. So today's decision should be a conceptual approval if there is one made today. Until we can get those actual boundaries, I told her we would need that in order to make that decision. And then the other concern is the comprehensive plan policy that talks about not creating a parcel that can't be developed. So we do have a comprehensive plan policy and a section in the land development regulations in section 3.01.01 that talks about not creating a parcel that can't be developed with regard to setbacks and structural setbacks and wetland setbacks and any other development parameters that we have listed in our regulations. And because we don't know where those lines are, I simply told her it's not that we can't do it or we can't approve it, it's just we just don't know where those lines are to know whether or not you're including any uplands in your second parcel. So I told her that until we know exactly where those lines are, we can talk about this conceptually, but but according to the National Wetlands Inventory and just a visual analysis of the site, it appears that the 7-acre plus or minus parcel is entirely wet. So there would not be any developable property on that, which we would not be allowed to create. So with that, I don't know if she's here tonight, but I did mention to her that would be a condition of approval. She did ask if she could amend her application. I said, you could at the meeting if you're able to attend, but I don't have time to reanalyze anything. This was just last week, to reanalyze any applications she might place. So for the meantime, if this is the stance we have today, then I would suggest that there could be a conceptual approval as long as the condition is that there is some uplands developable acreage on the second created parcel, not including, the house would be the first and the 7 acres would be the second. And we understand where those wetland boundaries are and that surveys are provided. And that was our findings.
So is the additional piece we got part of a change to this today?
Yes, I gave you one.
Is it in here?
No, it's right there, but this is funny.
This is the agenda.
You can have my copy.
Thank you. So this was, do I understand correctly, this was submitted after last week?
Yes.
Okay, I haven't seen this, so I couldn't give
Okay,
you,
Julie gave this to me today.
yeah, I haven't looked at this, so I couldn't give you an opinion.
And we're all seeing it here for the first time, just a few minutes.
So it looks like she's asking to amend her application to go from a 3-7 split to a 2-8 split, which again, conceptually that works. There's nothing that would prevent that from happening if there is sufficient uplands on that second piece.
I think that's it. Thanks, Laura. All right, well, we will open the public discussion portion of this. Would someone from the public like to come up? If you'll please state your name and your address, please.
Candace Ferguson, 3001 West 10th Street, Panama City. I am president of the Bay County Conservancy.
Thank you, Ken.
And we had a call last week from Ms. Buffington saying that she was trying to do this split and she would like to fulfill her late mother's wishes to see the wetlands part preserved. And that is what Bay County Conservancy does. We've been preserving land in the Panhandle since 1998. We have several parcels in Bay County and other counties in the Panhandle. We started with 30 acres behind Walmart. You may have noticed there's a boardwalk in Panama City behind the Walmart on 23rd Street, and 30 acres there that's been preserved. Now we have scattered around about 450 acres. And she has offered to donate that 7 acres to us for preservation as a wetland. So if she did that, then we do not develop our land, so there would not be an issue with it being developable. And we do keep our preserved property permanently, forever. It would not be sold. So Ms. Buffington lives in Texas, and she is not here. I think she's watching if you're broadcasting it, but that's really about all I know.
A quick question. You mentioned the property behind Walmart. It's wetlands and had
A boardwalk.
a boardwalk. Do you know if that might be an idea for this property?
We probably don't have the money to do it, but if we got a grant or partnered with somebody, yes. because we like to make our properties accessible to the public during daylight hours for, educational use or recreational use. We even have trails on some of our properties, but they're just simple mowed trails.
The reason I ask is Mel could weigh in on this, but there's a sidewalk project that's pending, something that's been discussed, and charrettes were done this summer, and I don't know if this connects with that. But if it did, it could be a natural extension of that.
The property bordering 15th Street would, I don't think this Conservancy Park would at all.
Okay, just curious. Thank
Any
you.
other questions?
What all are you allowed to do when you develop a wetlands property?
When we take ownership of a wetlands property,
Mhm.
we typically give a conservation easement to another entity, either DEP or, in one case, the Water Management District, but most often to Bay County Audubon Society. And they kind of oversee us to be sure that no development takes place on it that would harm the natural resources. So, as I said, we have one boardwalk, we have some simple mowed trails on some of our properties, and that's the extent of
about
the
it.
development. Right.
Okay, thank you.
I would like to say something here. I had just told Mel this. Over the years after Jeannie Seafelt bought the property, she and I had several conversations. And Jeannie had wanted to donate the wetlands area, about 6 acres of it was her guess, and put in a botanical garden there because that land had large tracts of cypress groves. And she and I talked about that on 2 or 3 occasions. Then Michael came along and destroyed all of the trees on the property, but that was Jeannie's original idea of what to do with that unbuildable wetland. So this is interesting that the Conservancy has stepped in to offer this.
If I might backtrack what I said, looking at this map, there's a sliver of that Conservancy property that would front 15th Street, but of course the sidewalk would be in the public right of way and it wouldn't affect the property at all.
Well, I was wondering if it might connect into boardwalks, if boardwalks were done, and therefore enhance walking opportunities to not just be beside the road, but go into a wetlands area, like, it sounds like what you did behind Walmart.
Yeah, if there, if any money comes along with that for public use, it might be something that could be worked on. Yeah.
Would a botanical garden be within the parameters of what could be installed?
Depends on what you mean by a botanical garden. We promote native
Yes.
vegetation, and we do our best to remove all invasive species and keep them off, which is a huge job.
Yes. Her thoughts, the few times that we spoke about that, was simply to have boardwalks through the cypress grove so that people could go and see what the cypress groves looked like.
That would certainly go along with our philosophy. Yeah, not a manicured garden.
No. Just
Right.
boardwalks so that people could go in there and look at it. If maybe in the future that could be considered.
Certainly.
Thank you. Anyone else from the public like to come up? Come on.
Alex Hogan, 7th Street. I've been coming to these meetings since 2015, and this is absolutely the best proposal I've ever heard, that someone is doing something for the good of this community. We're not worried, she's not worried about rentals, VRBOs. She's actually doing something for the people. And I applaud this young lady and this community and what she's doing. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else from the public like to comment? Jim?
Jim Bush, 130 Palm Street. I agree that keeping the wetlands as it is a good idea. And again, I appreciate the donation. However, I believe that putting a boardwalk through there would destroy wildlife habitat, because you're not going to have a whole lot of wildlife running around in there. There's enough boardwalks in wetlands areas that if people want to see what a cypress grove looks like, they can go someplace else. And I'm under the belief that we should keep our wetlands as they are. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else from the public? All right, well, with that, with no more from the public, we will close the public discussion and open the board discussion portion of this. And Mr. Attorney, if any of us have received any calls on this, do we disclose that?
Go ahead and disclose it.
I have. I got a call on this today from Jackie Culp, and I believe she's with the same organization. So she basically just shared with me the same intentions that you just shared.
Now, a question for the attorney here. Wouldn't it be easier for her to go back and amend this application to, instead of having to get a survey for wetlands and all that, if she got it surveyed out, but didn't have to go through the Army Corps or anything else to get the wetlands part done from the DEP, and just say that it's going to be 5 acres, 6 acres given to the conservatory, and they're keeping 2. Wouldn't that save a lot of hassle for her doing this? Because it's all wetlands back there anyway, they're giving it to a conservatory, so why would she have to jump through all these other hoops?
Well, from what I understood from Laura, the first issue is identifying exactly where the line would be. I don't even have a copy of the amendment that was presented to you all, so I don't know what she's amending or looking to amend, but if she's changing the configuration, certainly, then that further highlights why you need an actual survey to figure out where the properties are, the 2 properties.
No, I can see
Not
the
just-
survey, but
Not
it's
just
also
a drawing.
wetlands.
Now, as far as the wetlands, I mean, obviously, from a standpoint of building, if someone were going to build on that property, they would probably have to get a wetland survey done so that they knew what part of the property they were going to be able to build on. But if it's being donated, I'm not sure.
Yeah, so just for clarification, the donation came to my attention 18 minutes ago. So I wasn't aware of it.
I know the comp plan says they gotta get to the wetlands, it has to be going through the approval agencies and everything to determine that. But it would seem like if you were just giving that to the conservatory, you wouldn't have to do that.
Well, and at this point, it's not being developed, it's just being split. So, again, I go back to my statement that if you were going to develop it, I think you, at that point in time, you would probably be required to have the wetland survey to identify what part you could build on and what part you can't. At this point, you're just splitting lots.
So, Laura, or the city attorney, my question is, you say in the comp plan, we can't split a lot we can't make a new lot that cannot be developed. Is that also true if it goes into conservancy?
Well, if they're not gonna develop it, then that becomes, to me, a moot point, because they're not.
Right, but,
If it's part of the condition, I think it should be part of the condition of the approval, if that's
Right.
what's gonna happen.
but like, there would need to be some legal, I would assume that it could not be developed ever. It would be
Presumably, that's what would
to
happen. So,
conservancy.
I agree with Laura that there needs to be a condition on your recommendation that if you do decide to recommend approval, that it be conditioned upon the donation of the property into a nonprofit
Conservancy.
organization such as the Conservancy, so that it's not going to be built on.
Any other questions from the board? Comments? So give us some guidance on where to go from here. This has just been introduced. we know we need a survey. So if there was a motion for conditional approval, if a survey is done, does that move on to the city council, or?
Yes, yes.
Yeah, it could be.
And they will need to see a survey in order to approve it.
And presumably they need to see something confirming the donation, that it's going to occur, so that there's not this issue of wetlands out there.
I do have a question, if you would please. I know that Ms. Harbison mentioned the gift of the 7 acres, which is the original proposal. Of course, that whole 7 acres is pretty much in the wetlands. So if there was any potential use to make that wetlands something with boardwalks, there's nowhere to park. So if the 8 acres would be given to the Conservancy District, that would allow some property for parking. So my question is, does the gift still hold true at 8 acres compared to 7? I don't have the answer to that.
Well, doesn't the amended application say 8 acres, 2 acres?
Yes.
Yes.
And my curiosity was not for going there and parking and walking through the space. It was just, as a person that walks, and I walk 15 Street, 386, and it's dangerous where the sidewalks are not there. If I were walking on a sidewalk that may or may not get built in the future, which I think is under development or in consideration right now, and I got to a place that had a boardwalk, I would probably meander into there. Probably wouldn't drive to that spot, that's all.
Remember the 80 acres that's just on the other side of 15th Street, where the 40-acre retention pond is gonna be the long-term plan for the city. Was the other 40 acres was put a boardwalk back there.
Again, it was curiosity. Okay, so would someone like to make a motion for conceptual approval based on the conditions that we heard, or not?
I'll make a motion to recommend conceptually approve the split of a lot of 8 acres and 2 acres upon a survey and written acceptance of Bay County Conservancy that the 8 acres will be donated.
Okay. We have a motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second that.
Okay. We have a second. Tammy from Bruce. If you would take a vote, please.
Mr. Crease,
Yes?
Mr. Adams,
Yes.
Ms. Logan,
Yes.
Mr. Van Arsdale,
Yes.
Mr. Kerrigan.
Yes. Okay, thank you. All right, next we have plot split. Item number 3 on the agenda, 121 Second Street. And Laura's gonna come explain that.
Yes, this is also a decision pursuant to section 3.07.00 of the Land Development Code, requesting to split an existing parcel comprised of 3 recorded plats into 2 identically sized parcels. So it's going to take the original, what you see today on your map, and make it 2 identically sized, which is located at 121 Second Street. So, in short, Mexico Beach was platted back in the 50s, and many of the lots today are either as they were platted or have been combined into one parcel. So, when I talk about parcels versus lots, the lots are what was platted in the subdivision plat and is recorded at the courthouse, and the parcels are the tax ID number. So, you could have three lots make up one parcel. Like this occasion, there's 3 lots here, but there's 1 parcel ID number, so they're taxed as 1 unit. So the parcel ID number is a taxing unit that the property appraiser uses. So they are asking to take the 3 platted lots, and instead of creating 3 lots that they could, and as we know that we just put forward to the state a policy 1.8.8 in the comprehensive plan that's still proposed, not finally adopted, but will allow individual lot owners to build 1 home per lot in the future. So this will allow, the passage of this will allow them to take the 3 lots and make them 2 parcels, so that one legal description will be lot 8 and half of lot 9, and the other legal description will be half of lot 9 and then lot 10 at this location. I have checked the density limitations, and they will allow that development. Although with the passage of this policy, it will be irrelevant if they went back to the original lot sizes. But the recommendation is for approval. All density requirements are met, and they will have frontage, so there is nothing to really prevent this from splitting.
Okay, thank you, Laura. Would anyone from the public like to come up and comment on this?
Jim Bush, 130 Palm Street. Laura, I've got a question for you, because your memo, I find where you say the intent of the request is to create 2 autonomous parcels for future use and individual ownership. Mm-hmm. What are we talking, what are we looking at the individual owners doing? Because this raises some questions.
What are they going to do?
Yes.
I don't know what they're going to do, but it's in a trust, and they want to have individual ownership of each side.
Okay. Not knowing what's going on, let me just do a quick critical analysis of this for you. Facts we know, and I've gleaned these facts from the PC packet, the LDC, and the comp plan, and the current zoning plan, okay? And what we're doing is considering the lot split on 121 for a second. The LDC has already been gone over, and the zoning plan permit the split to take place. The city manager recommends that the city approve it. So those are the facts as we know them. Okay. Advantages of approving it support the comp plan, but because it allows the owner to do with the lot what he wants to. Another advantage is an increase in tax revenue for the city. However, I see a disadvantage in that the lot splits are too vague to understand what the owner's intent is. And let me analyze this for you. Okay, based on the max density by the LDC, it creates a problem. First of all, lot size. We're talking about 1/2 acre, or excuse me, 1/4 acre each. When you look at the normal housing in that area, that's about 3 times the size of a normal lot. So there's only a couple things that can go in there. Either somebody builds a mansion or somebody builds a condo. And if you look at that area, neither exist at the current time. And if you look at that area, and I will base it on 98, 15th Street, 8th Street, and 386. Okay, to the south on 98, anything that's got more than 1 family on it, there's an 8-bedroom house just finishing construction on 2nd Street. There is no parking there. Okay, so that begs the question, where are people going to park? That probably wouldn't be the same issue with this because of the size of the lot. But that's something to consider, what's going in there, because there's no other place where 8 people can stay in that area. Okay, there's also an unnamed condo located between 7th and 8th on 98. Again, so, you know, that's away from the main area where 2nd is. That's roughly 7/8 of a mile to where this lot's going to be split. And the house is about 200 or 150 meters from there. So that's what's existing to the south. Okay, to the west, there's Ocean View Cottages, which are 10 tiny individual residences. Okay, there again, 7/8 of a mile from 2nd Street. Paradise Shores condo on 8th is also 7/8 of a mile from where they want to make the lot split on 2nd. To north, all these things on the north side are on the other side or on the north side of 15th Street. Hey, you got an unnamed condo at 1120 on 15th, Sea Pines, and the Palms, which again are all condos which are over 1 mile from the center of the district we're talking about right now. And to the east, the only thing which has more than individual family is the Old Salt RV Park, which is in Gulf County. So Mexico Beach has no say to that. But what I'm saying here is that everybody in that area is basically, when you look at the comp plan, let me run that by you for a second. Okay, and I'm here going to quote, okay, it is the city's intent, A, maintain the traditional town development pattern and historical appearance of its coastal architecture. Encourage and support areas for tourist-related activities as long as it benefits permanent and long-term residents. Okay, and then Mexico Beach shall encourage growth and protect local natural resources in a manner that is consistent with the city's ability to promote the general welfare. Okay, number one, I have not run across anybody in that 1 square mile area that I've talked about thus far that is in favor of the lot split. And the reason being is there's a rumor running around that it plans on being split so a condo could be put in there. That is not in accordance with the comp plan. The second thing, maintain pleasing area aesthetics. Again, it's against the comp plan because it doesn't follow the traditional town pattern. Ensure property rights consistent with the general welfare. Well, yes, it allows the owner to do what he wants to with the property. But how about the benefits of all the people around it? Because they prefer that nothing go in there. Provide the infrastructure necessary to maintain current levels of services and provide additional infrastructure as required by future growth. I haven't seen any growth of the city infrastructure. We keep approving new developments. We keep approving annexing places. I don't see anything as far as improving utilities or anything like that's concerned. So as far as I'm concerned, if it is a condo, or if it is this huge mansion going in, it's not going to conform with the comp plan. Now, I have people that I know well enough to ask what their opinion was. All had the opinion, and these are all on 2nd Street, not in a hell. They're not going to go on, and they've allowed me to speak on their behalf. And I'm talking about the Morris family, the Aramara family, and the Jones family. Those are the only three presently occupied lots on that street. I have not talked to anybody else, directly and asked them for permission to speak for them because I don't know them well enough and they don't know me. But I have not talked to one person in that area that's in favor of this. So, without the information out there about what the intent is here, and with the rumor floating around about condos, my recommendation would be to deny the split until the intent of the owner is provided. Questions?
Did you have a
I
comment?
have some clarification
Okay.
to make. So if you look at the future land use map that you have in your packet, and you look at the red lines, which are the parcel property lines, you can see the lots that are on the south of Fortner and even further south at Front 98. Those are the lot lines. Those are the platted lots in this area. If you look at 3rd Street and you see those three that are facing 3rd Street on either side of 3rd Street, that is the configuration of these lots here that are recorded at the courthouse. So they are asking to not even go back to the original size of the lots. They're asking to go a little larger and create 2 out of the 3. To the point of the condominium, they are going to be allowed 1 dwelling unit per parcel, per new parcel, because that's all the density will be allowed. They couldn't do more than that because the future land use category and the zoning district don't allow a greater density than that. So they would be allowed 1 home per parcel.
That was my question.
Newly created parcel.
What actually could be
Oh,
built
a
in?
single family home.
Okay, I'm not familiar with the new comp plan. So is single-family home is what we're talking about.
Because that's what the density allows. If you do the math with the size of the parcel and 6 dwelling units to the acre, or, yeah, 8 dwelling units to the acre, that's all they can do. They can't get more
Well,
than that.
the way I read the LDC, you know, anything general residential can go in there. It
Which
meets,
it has to
it
meet the
meets,
density.
it meets the
limitation.
density.
At 1 unit, yes. It does at 1 unit.
Okay, well,
So Larry, if you kept that together as a half acre, since you're saying, right here in zoning, it says 6, single-family dwelling units. So if he kept the half acre together, he could put 3 in there. He could build triplexes if he wanted to.
If
Since
he
it's
went
split
back
into
to
2,
the-
he could only put 2.
If you went back to the original 3 lots, you could put 3 homes in.
Yeah, he's allowed to do that.
3 or
Yes.
triplex. So this way it's
So
only 2.
we're actually lowering density, we're not
Yes.
increasing it, we're lowering density.
Yes.
We're going the other way.
You'd only be
Yeah,
allowed-
that's what-
The other way.
You'd only be allowed to do that once council.
Yes.
And then
Let's see if anybody else from the public, before we open the board portion, because we have a bunch of questions, comments. Anyone else from the public want to comment?
I just want to clarify, Laura, you said you could not put a condo in there.
There's not enough land for that many units.
Okay,
Well, how many-
she's
how many
clarified. If you want to come on up and,
Joel Chike, I own a house on First Street, but I actually live on Fortner. So, you know, I'm looking at this because it would affect us, you know, with the property that we have there. The property we have on First Street is a long-term rental, so, you know, no short-term rentals ever in that house. Our concern was exactly what Jim had voiced is, hey, if we split this up, are they splitting it up into 6 lots by taking the 3 that were there and dividing it the other way, which would make, you know, a little larger density, but that does not sound like the case. We're going the other way. And so I just wanted to voice our concern was that we wanted to, and we heard the rumor as well, so we wanted to be here and say, hey, you know, that does not fit with our neighborhood. If you look in our neighborhood, it is all single-family dwellings, and you know, that's what we would like to see continue there.
okay, thank you. Anyone else? One more.
Denise Chite, First Street. Can we make a stipulation that if they do split it, that the stipulation is 1 unit per,
The density wouldn't allow any more than 1 unit.
that's what we're saying, but
It sounds
can
like
we
it
make?
already is
It
stipulated.
is stipulated in the LDR or LDC that you can't. You only have 1.
So we don't need to write it in to make sure that that's, I appreciate his homework because the rumor mill's running and my concern is there's another piece of property that the same group of people own that there's talk of further type situation. That's why I ask, we don't need to have written stipulation. That's,
So, Laura, would you maybe reassure and explain this to her? So I get that you want reassurance that a condo is not going to go here and it's not going to go from 3 to 6. But it sounds like,
and my concern, and we've had it for 30 plus years. That was where we started here, Chip and Tar. And we built a 3-story house. We weren't even allowed to put a door on our 3rd floor to our bedroom, or our builder couldn't at the time because they said, you know, it could become an in-law suite. It could become a separate unit, even though it was one structure. And so there's this rumor mill going, and that's the background.
so concerns from the rumor mill, if you could explain.
So, just the basics. The comprehensive plan is the ruling document of how growth and development occurs in any local government in the state of Florida. And then the land development regulations nest underneath that, and they implement the comprehensive plan, which is like the big policy document. And they have to be consistent with the comprehensive plan. And this is designated as residential general on the future land use map, which means every category that we have is assigned a maximum allowable density, and we count that by how many units per acre can be developed there. And so if we do the math on this 0.56, I think it was 0.56, 0.52, whatever it was, acres, And if we take that and divide it by half, we get 1 and then a fragment of a house. And you can't have a fragment of a house, you can't have a percentage, so you round down. You can have 1 home per half.
It's 0.51, so it comes,
We've already got one of those existing on Second that happened many years ago, but,
Thanks, Laura. Anyone else from the public? Otherwise, we're going to open the board portion of this. Okay, thank you very much. Let's open the board discussion.
I just back on that a little bit. They could, if the comprehensive plan gets amended, go back to 3 without this board, correct?
No, well, they would have to get approval to go back to 3.
But
Because
they-
right now they're at 1.
But they wouldn't
But they
reason.
could go back to 3.
Yeah. So if we do this, they can only have 2 structures. So I was thinking worst case scenario, they could have a duplex, but they can't even do that without a setback variance. So this is literally decreasing density, and you could, if you were going to build a condo, it'd be a 3-unit condo because that's all it would allow at 0.5 acres.
I think I understand the direction, but is this proposed split
Facing Second
parallel
Street.
to Fortner?
It is parallel to Fortner, yes.
So
So there
does
should
it,
be a survey in your packet. The lots would align with, the lots align like they do on the 3rd Street lots on that joint use
They're
map.
going east to west.
that was my question. Does it, not identical, but very close to being identical to the 2 lots that are across the street?
Yes,
Mhm.
that's right.
Very similar to the way the neighborhood looks right across the street.
Yes.
But could be what's on 3rd Street between Fortner and Florida.
And the lot next to this one is owned by the same person.
Yes.
So this would make it more consistent with what's across the street.
On
Second.
Yes. Right, so the same side as all of these next door.
Mr. Sloan, I got an email from a lady who was 2 houses down, just to mention that, and her concern was like everybody else here, what can go there, because of on Second Street, with all the rentals, everything's rented on Second Street pretty much, there's no parking for anything. And I replied back to her and explained exactly what Loretta said, that once this is split, it can only be 2. And she emailed me back and said that she had no problem with the lot split after finding out that it was just gonna be a lot split. Her big concern was about the parking. And I explained to her to call the city manager in the city because that's not allowed. She was concerned because the guy who rents all the time brings this giant boat and parks it right there on the highway, and it's there. And that's not allowed in Mexico Beach, that's why we got the thing down here. I told her, get a hold of the city to get the boat moved, and she was happy with that. So, that's just like the concerns of the people sitting out here, same thing.
Well, here's another concern, and
You can have it.
people in the audience brought it up. The mega mansion there with 8 bedrooms. We only require 2 parking spaces for a single-family home. You have 8 bedrooms, you're gonna need more than 2 parking spaces. So how do we control both the amount of traffic that they could generate on both lots if they built 8-bedroom homes on both lots? I mean, that is, to me, an issue, a valid issue for these folks here. And I don't know the answer to that, but it bears discussing.
Jack, can I provide some information?
Yeah, if you'll please come back.
Jim Bush, again, 130 Palm Street. The people that I've talked to on Second right now, one of the reasons that I brought this up about the 8-bedroom home is because the only place for those people to park are next to the vacant lot on the other side, or on the west side of Second Street, which means if they have somebody come visit or something, there's no parking there. And if you park there, your vehicle, the wheels are going to be right up next to the road and right next to the vegetation road. So it's really inconvenient the way it exists now for everybody that lives on Second Street. Because there is no place, when you look at the pool and everything else that's been done with that piece of property, right now, most you can get in there is 2 cars.
Anyone else from the board have a comment on this?
I just kind of on Lisa's comments about if they were to build that big house on those lots. Again, they could go to 3 and still build that big house because this lot in 3 is the same size as that house lot on the corner of 2nd and 98. They could build that same house 3 times if we went back to the original plat. So again, this is decreasing density. That's why this is,
I understand that going from 3 to 2
Yeah.
is certainly decreasing density. But it just seems to me that there are other issues at work here that we really have to pay some attention to because
Sounds like your concern is the sufficient driveway for a big home, right?
Yes,
Which is separate than this
separate from the lot split, yeah.
yes,
But yeah,
yes, I understand it's a separate issue, but it's all related.
Yeah, it's a valid issue.
Maybe make that a future agenda discussion item for bedrooms and parking?
Something like that could be brought up when in the drawing stages, when it's submitted for permit. Where's your parking? Is it gonna be before you approve?
Mel, is there anything
the
that,
parking requirements is 2 spots.
Yeah, the parking requirement is just 2 spots, so,
so we would have to change the parking requirement?
which is what we're
Yeah.
supposed to have already done by going through the LDR, which we haven't done. But, yes, it's
One
an
thing at a
issue.
time.
It's an issue. But it all boils down to the fact that we do not know what will be built on the 2 lots. I like the idea of reducing the lots from 3 to 2.
I don't think we know what will be built, but we know what can be built based on what is allowed here.
I don't think it matters what gets built as long as it conforms to the rules and what.
And therein lies an issue, is that our job as this plan and zoning board is to make sure it complies with our current laws, and it does.
Can they be added to future item discussion for looking at bedrooms and how much parking is required?
We certainly can.
Okay.
Jim, I'll have you come up one more time, but you're gonna have to come up and,
Jim Bush.
We're gonna close it after that.
I just want to comment on what Mel said. Just because the LDR and the comp plan allows it, doesn't mean that it needs to be done.
Then we're talking lawsuit.
anyone else on the board have any other comments? And if not, would anyone like to make a motion on this topic? And in summation here, of the analysis, every requirement has been met.
Okay, I will make a motion to approve the lot split on 121 Second Street. Recommend approval. It meets every requirement in the LDZ and in current zoning.
Okay. We have a motion to approve. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
We have a motion. We have a second. Tammy, would you take a vote, please?
Okay. Mr. Crease?
Yes?
Mr. Adams?
Yes.
Mr. Van Arsdale?
Yes.
Ms. Logan?
Yes,
Mr. Kerrigan?
Yes. Okay, next, we have changes to consider for the LDC. That's consideration of changes to the PUD section of the Land Development Code. And Laura, if you're going to walk us through this again, please.
Yes, this section is a continuation of the proposed updates to the Land Development Code. This section is in Article 2 and is entitled Planned Unit Development. Because this, just as an overview, because this section is written as an overlay district, you'll notice that the page numbers at the bottom are TBD. This is because I would recommend at this is all finalized, that this actually be nested under the overlay district section that we recently created. And then that any subsequent PUDs that are created also be nested under that, just for organizational purposes, since this is considered an overlay district in the language. The alternative to considering it an overlay district is to include it as a zoning district, a proper zoning district, which is pretty common, to so that when somebody comes in and is looking to get approval for a PUD, it actually is a zoning district, so that the underlying zoning doesn't come into play anymore. It's just the PUD parameters. So it's another consideration as we move forward. So the section here, 2.03.00 planned unit development. This first page, we have just some clarifying language in the purpose and intent. The general purpose remains the same, and the definition has been stricken because we've pretty much described that under 2.03.01, the definition of a PUD, to plan a development design offering flexible development standards, phasing options, and allows a diversity and mixture of uses and/or housing types within one planned development application. Then we move down into section 2.03.03, which is what you have to have to be eligible for the usage of a PUD. And so the definitions here include what you are required. This language, some of it was retained, and then I added some additional language to be sure that the intent of what Mexico Beach wants for a PUD is included. We have a requirement, I believe the requirement, let's see, there was a requirement to have 5 acres. I actually reduced that to 3, knowing the size of the parcels in Mexico Beach. You're probably not going to find that many that are even 3 acres in size, let alone 5.
Question for you. And if you go through this right now, we're looking at this, a B, right here, B. The PUD may depart from strict, and this is what was in there before, but and I didn't like what was in there. The PUD may depart from strict conformance with development standards, use and specific content regulations, assigned zoning district, and other applicable requirements of this code. You look at our zoning districts, and we have, like, I'll give you an example. On 15th Street, go down where the turn is, on the left-hand side, development might go in back there, and it was going to be like 20 or 30 houses. If they don't have to follow the zoning for low-density residential, and they can change it, they could put something big in there. And what's in here goes up to 48 feet. Everything we're looking at now is 32 feet. I don't like that it says that they don't have to follow the zoning. I do not like that.
That is the entire purpose of a PUD, is to allow you to variate from existing zoning standards. That's the whole purpose of a PUD. So what a plan unit development does is allow a developer or a property owner to come in with varying types of regulations that are part of the documents that they propose as part of the PUD. So it's all written out, their setbacks, their sidewalks, their size of their streets, their connectivity, their uses, the percentage of uses, all of that is in a master plan development. So if you think of something like Seaside, that was a master plan development. It was 80 acres, but it's a master plan development. So, so it all comes together, and it has to be approved as we'll go through this by the city council, and the city council has to find that there are benefits to the community as part of the approval. So yes, you don't want to confine them to the strict requirements of the zoning district, because you want them to be innovative. You want them to find different ways to have development occur within Mexico Beach other than the strict requirements of the zoning district.
To me, that goes against everything with zoning. I mean, when you look at the paper company right here, it came in, this was zoned differently. This was zoned commercial, and for what they could do. So they did everything down here, apartments, condos, whatever.
Yeah, it was
But
tourist
when
mixed
you're in
use,
a
yeah.
regular zoning district, that should not be allowed. I mean, it should be.
Well, then we
need
just
to
need,
go back and change whatever it is.
if the intent is for the city not to have a PUD, then we can just strike the whole thing, because that's what the PUD
You can't have
does.
one, but it should only be in a zoning district that meets, like tourist, commercial, or another district. It should not be in a residential zoning district.
That's not what this says.
It
It has,
says,
it has to be in a, if it's going to be a mixture of uses, it has to be in a future land use category that allows for a mixture of uses.
Mixed use.
where's that in there?
Well, that's,
Where did I miss that?
we're
Because
going
it
back,
just
we're
says-
going back to the whole preface of what a comprehensive plan is. You have to always, 100%, never deviate from the comprehensive plan, no matter what, period. So if there's ever a conflict between the LDRs and the comprehensive plan rules. It's like the Constitution. You have to follow it, it's the law. So if the future land use allows for a mixture of uses, then you could easily locate the PUD there. If it only allows for residential general, you wouldn't locate the PUD there. You'd have to go through a future land use map amendment to be able to have a mixture of uses.
Well, listening to what Rock just said, I am agreeing with Rock. However, I found, and I read this multiple times, and I found this so utterly confusing, I still am not at all clear, and I don't have that much of a problem reading. But this, to me, trying to figure out what we said, what is currently on the books, and what it's being changed to is just a nightmare. Now, one of the big things that I am absolutely appalled at is changing 5 acres to 3 acres. The whole intent of trying to control overdevelopment in this town is to control things like that. And I think, I don't care what the sizes of the lots that we have are, I think to loosen any PUD regulations is going against everything that we and the majority of people have consistently said. We want to slow down the growth, we want to control the growth, and to loosen the regulations by nearly 50%, to me, is just not acceptable at all. So that's the first thing. And how many uses does the PUD currently say there has to be? Is it 2 or is it 3? I could not find it. That's her, that's what she's wanting to put in here. I'm asking what the current thing.
I'm trying to recall, I don't know if there was a minimum.
I know that it states at somewhere in there that we have to have, and I thought it was 3. So that's another time that it seems to be loosening it. But this whole thing to me is not something I want to even vote on tonight because I'm still trying to figure it out. I don't like something that says no structure within the PUD shall exceed the height of a structure outside of the PUD by more than 20 feet.
Lisa, if you don't mind, let me just pause you for just a second, because I know we're moving into the board discussion, and we haven't invited the public. So would anyone from the public like to comment on this first?
The only comment I would like to make is I'm kind of like, that I don't quite understand what's going on either, but I totally agree with Rob.
We'll close the
Yeah.
public discussion and move it back to the board. So, Rob, did you want to continue your comment? Or I think I paused you, sorry, Lisa.
Yeah, there is no current requirement to have 3 uses from the information I have.
No, that's not.
You know, because my concern is, I went to every meeting when the paper company came out with their plans. And I went to every meeting for all the years, every dog and pony show and everything else, and there was not a single person from Mexico Beach wanted to see any of that. Not a single person. And we also asked to move things around. Put the apartments at the other end. If you want to have nicer houses, put them on this end. But it still got done the way they wanted it done, and the council approved it. Even though 100% of the people didn't want it, it still got approved.
Wasn't that PUD approved in 2006? Originally?
No.
No.
07?
No.
When was that originally?
No, the original PUD was not approved until,
Before I lived here.
no, not the PUD. the annexation happened in 2006. The
That-
PUD
that
was not
changed that,
released
but-
until after the hurricane.
I do have a question on the result of a PUD, and I think I was confused on this, and Mel cleared it up for me a month or so ago. The new development that is up on the far end of the beach, single-family homes, it might be called Salt Creek, but I'm not sure. The single-family homes. When I walked there, and visually it looked like they didn't have the amount of trees per home that I was used to seeing, because it's not hard to calculate the number of trees per 50-foot perimeter. So there's a bunch of new homes with one skinny tree in the front, and that didn't seem like what zoning required. So I asked Mel, and he said, well, that doesn't apply in a PUD. It's a PUD.
Yeah.
And so that is, that part of it, and I realize that a PUD is,
That's why the density of the townhomes is higher, because they have conservancy areas, all that.
but if under 2.03.01, if it says the general purpose of the PUD overlay district is to encourage enhancement and preservation of lands which are unique or outstanding scenic, environmental, or cultural significance, encourage preservation. And I realize you're going to take down trees to build homes. Not against that. But if we had a bunch of trees that are being taken down for a PUD, it seems like at minimum you would want to put back what's required in the rest of the town. And so where does that come into play in the process?
Wouldn't that come into play when the PUD's being approved?
That's what I'm wondering. The comp plan, I went back to the comp plan, 4.01.01. Comp plan states emphasis will be on preserving and maintaining existing vegetation to provide buffers, wildlife habitat, and reduce the impact of urbanization. So, Laura, you said the comp plan is the overarching
Yes,
Bible that we should be
Yes.
trying to live by.
that's right.
So then whose job is it to ensure that when the PUD is approved, that it is consistent with what the citizens of Mexico Beach want?
Percentage.
This
isn't it?
group right here, as it's presented to you, and that's your charge, to make sure everything that's approved is consistent with the comprehensive plan.
So in every aspect of that PUD that's being submitted, that's when that's
Yes.
done.
But
Yes.
then it goes to the council because we can only make recommendations.
Yeah, the council.
And God knows, we have had a complete track record of our recommendations, which are on the line of what you just said, being tossed out.
That's when I learned something on the last one. I just naively assumed that if you're building homes, you're going to follow the landscaping regulations for building a home in Mexico Beach. I didn't know that the PUD was no rules apply.
I found that out with the paper company, that's why they have the set-asides, where you have all the building, nothing but houses, apartments, this and this, and all of a sudden in the center, you have a chunk of
Waterfront.
waterfront, whatever, weeds and everything else
Were you about to
going.
make a
That's the
comment?
set-aside, that's the set-aside.
Not trying to oversimplify, but it's either, the only way to deal with it, if you want everything to conform to the current zoning, is to not have a PUD. If you're gonna have a PUD, you're gonna have to trust your elected officials
To make the right choice.
to make the right choices.
That's right.
And we can sit around this table and argue it till the cows come home. But at the end of the day, if we're gonna have PUDs, it's gonna be up to us to make a recommendation, and it's gonna be up to the elected officials to decide whether or not they have one twig in the yard, or they conform to
So,
something else.
Jack, to your question on the vegetation, this is something I did add on the second page under Part J at the bottom. A PUD shall retain at least 30% of the existing native vegetation. Invasive species are not counted in that requirement. So right now you don't have that.
And where is that?
At the bottom of the
On
second
J.
page, on J. You don't really have a lot of parameters on right now what the city's looking for in a PUD. It's pretty much a wide open door,
It shouldn't be.
and it shouldn't be.
Yeah.
You should write what you want to see out of a PUD.
And that's what this is creating.
Yes.
So my question is,
It's created.
if we make a recommendation to the city council and they agree, you could add current zoning laws into a requirement of the PUD.
Well, you would be defeating the purpose of a PUD though, because the PUD is meant to be able to waive those strict zoning requirements and be more
100%?
creative,
100% of them?
as long as it's consistent with the comprehensive plan.
You know,
Not density, it would have to stick to the density or maximum density requirements.
But if you just said the comprehensive plan was to preserve vegetation and landscaping, then it's not consistent with that. Isn't that
Well,
right?
this is asking you to preserve 30%, and right now we have 0% requirement to preserve the existing vegetation.
What is under B, final detailed PUD approval, item E, landscaping and buffering standards? Are these just components of a PUD, or what go to things that say parking standards and landscaping
So
and
parking
buffering
standards is another one that is a variable thing that you would approve as part of the PUD process. So you're on B4, did you say B4 as part of the approval of the final detailed PUD?
Yes, final detailed PUD
Shall also
approval.
approve of changes or deny the PUD designation as an overlay district, that one?
Page 2-TBD1.
Yeah.
I-
they're all over that.
Unfortunately, I did not pay attention to that in that email.
So it'll be 1,
Oh.
2, 3, 4, 5th page if you find them.
So B4, I'm sorry, B what?
E, B,
E.
and then
Landscape and buffering
B1E.
standards?
Yes. Are these just items that must be addressed when a PUD is
Yes.
submitted and is delineating all the
Yes.
things that, okay.
Yes,
It's not saying what they are, but they have to be.
yes, they have to,
submitted.
you have to tell us what you're asking us to approve,
Okay,
which right now you don't have any of this. You have nothing.
and probably why we have some of the situations with.
Right.
So
There are no standards.
if you want to continue to take us through here.
I do not have the most recent copy of the LDR with me. I've got the old copy. But it has a section on PUDs. It even has a section on mini PUDs, which I believe we got rid of. And everything that we are talking about is laid out in here. So did we remove all of these requirements in the latest edition of the LDR? Because this has got everything.
So all I can tell you is that I use the version that is posted to the American Legal site, which I believe is updated as of February 2024.
Well,
Sounds like you've used the right version.
Yeah, like which item are you reading? In the-
yeah, this is very old.
Okay.
Very old, but something's.
I know that when I started working with the city in 2017, or I think it's actually after that with Mario Giesbert, there was some changes to the St. Joe language, property language, tourist mixed use, that removed some of the requirements that were listed in the comprehensive plan.
like I said, my biggest problem is, this is Mexico Beach right now, unless they annex more property. This is what we have, one end to the other.
Mhm.
And to me, it's almost like saying, end of PUDs for the city of Mexico Beach's current city limits. If the city wants a PUD for something they annex in the future, which I don't even like that idea, but that's out of this area. But to change what everybody has in here, that somebody can come in to anything in here that's in low-density residential and have 3 acres, 5 acres, 6 acres, and make it a PUD and put in everything in here.
But you can't do that, Rock, because you have to stick to the future land use category. So if it's residential general, all you can put in there is residential, because that's what the comprehensive plan says.
This is for future.
You'd have to find a mixed use category, like general commercial, which allows
really is for
almost
future.
everything under
So
the sun.
basically
and
for
church.
annexation in the future coming down the road.
Or a future land use map amendment, which is a legislative decision that you recommend to the city council and they decide.
So it's not impossible, it's just extra
I
steps.
know.
They could change the zoning
Well, I know,
via
that's,
map amendment.
that's why we went back and had that big vote, said you can't change, what was it, the height requirements in Mexico Beach?
Mhm.
That can't change.
But that's in the
part
charter.
of
That's right.
Yeah,
So that's
Yeah.
different
yeah.
than Yes,
So mostly your efforts have been to much more specificity in this?
yes, yes,
And for
More
future
guidance.
land development.
yes.
And why the point earlier, reducing from 5 acres to 3 acres?
I don't think you have the acreage
Okay.
to take advantage of this other than that Sweet Bay. Isn't that what it's called, Sweet
That's what I'm
Bay?
saying, we don't have that right now. We don't have it. The last 5 acres that I know of is, going to conservatory.
Right, there's no 5 acres. I don't think, I haven't done an entire analysis
So,
of this.
so if you left it at 5 acres, it would only apply to a 5 acre
Annexations.
plus parcel that's annexed.
And did we or did we not get rid of the mini PUD? I remember
We
that.
got rid of it.
And that was under 5.
Yes, I think so.
It's not in the current code.
Yeah, we got rid of the mini PUD, but,
Is there a benefit to reducing it from 5 to 3?
it makes it easier for development to come in, which I don't think there's a benefit to it. I think that loosening the regulations on developments is a bad idea. We do not have to build on every available vacant piece of property. And we've had this in there, 5 acres or more for a PUD for quite some time, and suddenly to reduce it, there are sections, there are pieces of property on 15th Street, skinny, long pieces, that are 5, 6, 7 acres.
That are almost all commercially zoned.
Easily.
Right, so my question would be, how would you see this different than the general commercial category, which allows for every use, just about?
Oh, believe me, that's, me sitting here at this table, totally
So at
against
least
that.
with the PUD, you have control of approval over what goes into the development.
Outside of 7th or 15th Street, you've also got behind the old Gulf Foods. That's 7 acres. So that
Yeah,
would
and
be,
that's residential general,
that would be PUD eligible regardless of if it's 5 or 3.
Right.
It would be what?
PUD eligible regardless if it's 5 or 3 acres. Because it's 7, right? I was just trying to think of what's out there that's that big.
I could, if you would like for me to read the list of allowable uses in general commercial, I can, but it's about 3 pages long.
No.
Pretty much anything.
I mean,
PUD will.
I'm trying to help you understand that this is a better alternative than just the plain general commercial.
And I don't disagree, there's landscaping requirements and plenty
Yes.
good done in here, that there's the issue on 3 versus 5, someone needs to.
Laura, let me ask you a question, because you said that we almost had no restrictions on the PUD.
No guidance.
No guidance on
Yes.
the PUD. Is this the most guidance that we can put into a PUD?
No. You can get as detailed as you'd like
So,
on all kinds of things, requirements of
I
sidewalks,
guess my
street widths.
question is, if you can't, like, to use your example, landscaping, if we can't give guidance on landscaping, does it have to be like 30%? Because I'm thinking if you go out and clear an acre of woods that's got 300 trees on it, might be hard for you to build houses and have 90 trees on it. I mean, is that, I just think that we might need to think about, you know, when you look at percentages, I don't know who measures that. I don't know how you could measure that. I mean, that's subjective to somebody going out there.
Well, you would require the developer to submit a survey to show.
Tree survey.
They pay for it.
So on the tree example,
Yep.
how many does commercial require? None?
Nothing.
So literally I could
Other
build
than the-
more in, I live in the Palms, which is commercially zoned and has no tree requirements, but if it was a mini PUD, it would be 30%. So this is more restrictive than the current zoning of all those lots on 15th Street. It's-
So to
it's
your
throwing it
point,
out there.
you might not have anyone ever want to take advantage of the PUD because they could go.
Because it's more advantageous to
If
go
they
to
can get a
general
general commercial category designation, it's,
Well, at the end of the day, a PUD's got to be approved, recommended for approval, or it's got to go before the council for
Yes.
approval anyway.
and I hate to say it's a moot point, but it kind of is, because the council's gonna do what the council's gonna do
But this does
anyway.
detail what
Right.
that PUD must include,
Yeah.
which is a,
Which I do like.
And it's up to you all to recommend policy. If you don't like 3 acres, then
Yes.
you can keep the 5 acres. There's no, this is just a proposal that Aurora has put together to amend the existing PUD requirements. And if you don't like 3 acres, then tell her your recommendation is 5 acres. You just,
Lisa,
you don't,
would you
it's
like to
not a
make that-
take it or leave it deal. This is this should be
Yes.
something you
Workshop.
guys.
Yes, I would like to recommend that we put the PUD back up to 5 acres.
Okay.
And I will go back and try to find the most recent copy of the LDR and answer some of my own questions, because I still have multiple questions about the new wording of all of this, and to
I
compare.
believe that's the purpose of this meeting tonight, for you to get those
Well,
questions
if it's-
answered
if
based
it-
on what you've been provided.
And if it helps to do a workshop on what a PUD is, that's something I can do also.
It'd probably be beneficial.
Yeah, and perhaps with the holidays, maybe you all haven't had time to really explore. I know you've read it a number of times, but you may benefit from having a workshop and discuss these things, so.
I would be happy to have a workshop to do that.
Yeah, I mean, you know, you just talk about the trees and 30% put aside. I mean, you could go in there and say, yeah, you're still gonna put 20% aside or 30% aside, but every building, whether it's condos or whatever, is gonna have a tree every 50 feet around it. So you could add that in there and get more trees and looking like when you walk through the neighborhood, there's no trees. You'd still have trees in the neighborhood, whether or not they got their 30 cent put away. So I mean, that's something we really need to get into discussing and go through with a workshop.
Yeah, because keep in mind, if somebody comes in and has a PUD application, everything else except density is out the window. So, yes, it has to ultimately have council approval, but if you don't have the parameters in here that you want, and the council ultimately passes by ordinance, then you're gonna have the same situation that you heard the discussion before of, well, there's nothing in the LDR that prevents that.
We have had PUDs in this town before, not just there, and I know that they were regulated. There were a lot of regulations. Where are those regulations?
Of the previously approved PUDs?
Yes,
Do you mean regulations of the parameters of what was approved?
regulations that dealt with all of these areas that we've been talking about.
I think what you're
Landscaping.
saying is it was notated in the previous versions of the LDR, what the requirements
It
were.
absolutely was,
Yeah.
because we have approved PUDs, and I can remember going through weeks of discussions with this. So we had all of the requirements, landscaping, parking, the uses, the density, the height, all of that existed at some time.
So my understanding, I know I probably asked this question 4 times. You can't state what it has to be, but you can state that it has to be addressed in the PUD
Yes.
application. Okay.
Yeah.
Jack, may I make a comment based on your all's discussion, because it's brought up some stuff that wasn't in the review.
Sure, go ahead.
First of all, it appears to me that every member of the board doesn't have a copy of the comp plan, the LDR, and the zoning map. And I think, I would recommend that you make sure everyone has one, and they bring them with themselves when they come to a meeting.
Yeah,
Yeah, okay, so well, obviously somebody don't have them here.
we need a few more.
Okay, the second thing is, were you a member of the P&C when we did this St. Joe fiasco?
I've been a member of P&Z for a long time.
But you don't remember that? Well, okay. Alex was, and I know Lisa was really actively involved in it. When we made a recommendation to the city council we recommended that they only approve it with 5 caveats, that they be completed, you know, in order for the thing to go through. That's the way it was voted on, and that's the way the city council passed it. None of those 5 things, none of those 5 things have been done. So in reference to what you said about somebody checking on what's going on, I would warn you, you better make sure that there's something going on to make sure that happens, or you're going to have what you've got in the future, because we still got dangerous areas out there because they haven't done what they said they were going to do.
Well, there are parts of this that are outside of this advisory board. We can make a recommendation, and then the city council can accept that or reject that. And then there's enforcement beyond that. So we can do so much, and hopefully we do the best we can, but we don't handle ultimate.
I'm just saying you need to
enforcement.
consider that. And if you present it to them, that's something they may not even think of. But if you do your homework and present it to them, then they have to address it. Even if they ignore it like they normally do, they still have to address it.
So, any other comments, or are we agreeing that maybe a workshop is in order for this?
Workshop.
Okay, it sounds like that's overall a good idea, so if you want to give us some date options, or let's talk about when we can do a workshop. So Laura, you need to lead that workshop.
Of course. On Mondays or another day?
We'll start with Mondays.
I could probably do next week on the 12th. If that's too soon. we can look at
The
another
12th, next Monday, I'm in Tallahassee that day, so.
Okay. If we're sticking to Mondays, the next one is a holiday, and the 26th, I could probably do at 6 p.m.
At the time we're talking 6 p.m.
Anybody have an idea? You're looking at the 19th.
It's a holiday.
26.
26.
And okay,
That's what
26
26.
is good for me. It's good for me.
I mean, if we wanted to do it a different day than a Monday, we could always look at that too.
It's not a Monday, Thursday's for the best for me.
The
I could do
26th,
Thursday the 15th.
What's that?
I could do Thursday the 15th.
I'm not here that day. It's traveling season to go see clients at the beginning of the year.
So is it 26?
That
That
does
works.
work for me.
Okay.
What time?
6.
6 o'clock?
All right.
Okay.
All right, Tammy, will you get out something on that so we all are reminded of it? Okay. So we don't really have a motion to approve or deny at this point, do we? Okay. So we're gonna schedule a workshop. I think we just need a motion to adjourn, if that's where we are right now. So motion to adjourn, Rob?
Motion to adjourn.
We're adjourned.